Welcome to the Level Up Podcast, where finance leaders share real stories, insights, and connections that move them forward. Tune in to learn, sharpen your edge, and level up together.
Nick Aracco here, host of the newly reimagined Level Up and founder and CEO of CFO Alliance. Listeners and viewers, as you know, this is not another boring business podcast series. Level Up is where the most forward-thinking leaders in finance and business and industry from CFO Alliance community and beyond come to share what it really takes to lead in today's unpredictable world. That's an understatement. Every time I say it, I think, boy, am I just throwing it out there. Each episode, I sit down with finance executives and others who are redefining what it's like to sit in those seats, to step up, to lean in and level up. These are not theory-driven interviews. They're raw. They're real. I think, like you do, they're packed with insights you can use. Past guests of Level Up have included power players, boom, like Sam Levy of Oracle NetSuite, Sumit Agrawal of SmartScale Finance, and visionaries. I love to call the visionaries. You probably do too. People like Alana Esterich, Aaron Wilkins, Dan Nelson, so many others. Check out the episodes, take a listen, and more. If you're a finance leader navigating changes, challenges, or opportunities, you are in the right place. This is your podcast. You are here with me today. And also with me here today is Andrew Platt. Wait till you hear about this story. A CFO who's actually been in the trenches, right? Somebody who thinks beyond the spreadsheet. I wouldn't have a guest on here who did get stuck in that and is not afraid. I mean, I will tell you this, not afraid to call it like it is. That's why I met him. I was like, he needs to be on here, right? We're going to dive into Andrew's own journey, insights, and leadership vision in just a moment. But I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you Level Up is proudly brought to you by our partners at Oracle NetSuite, the #1 cloud ERP, trusted by thousands of high-growth, finance-led companies around the world. NetSuite gives CFOs and finance teams and leaders real-time visibility, something we need in this day and age. Automation, something we're all focused on, right? And control across their financials, across operations, and planning so they can lead with confidence and scale with speed. Oracle NetSuite is also a proud sponsor and longtime global partner to our community at the CFO Alliance, supporting our shared mission of empowering finance leaders to drive strategy, build resilient teams, boy, do we need that, and deliver next level impact. So if you're serious about building a modern finance function that keeps pace with your business, NetSuite is your platform. Learn more at netsuite.com. So let's dive right in. I get the opportunity to kind of set the stage, tell you a little bit about my guest today. Okay, so today on Level Up, I have Andrew Platt. Andrew's a CFO who's actually been in the seat and owned the outcomes, own them. That's another thing you can tell. He speaks with that possessive pronoun, right? He's not going they, good, bad, or otherwise. It's we. He's more than 20 years experience. You're going to see a little bit of gray in that beard of his, right? Now a CFO at Freed Associates. He's helped leadership teams bring order to chaos. Boy, do we need that today. We're going to find out how he does that. Make decisions when the data isn't perfect and the clock is ticking. That's another thing I found out about him, because name a place, finance leaders and executives, where the data is perfect. That's like an oasis that we'd all like to be like see and disappear, right? Andrew's worked across complex regulated environments, partnering closely with CEOs and boards to build financial discipline, right? Let's talk about that. Sharpen strategy and create alignment where things were fuzzy, to say the least, right? He doesn't hide behind the spreadsheets. I told you that. He uses them and the data to force better conversations. That, I will tell you, is why I also have him here, though, because when I first talked to Andrew, I felt like I could talk to him for hours. So I know we're not going to have hours, but I knew he believed and lived with real accountability. And that's what I'd love for him to bring to light. Andrew, welcome to Level Up.
Thank you so much for having me, Nick. You know, it's a pleasure to be here. I love the CFO Alliance and I love this podcast. So hopefully some of what I share is useful and relevant to the larger community.
Well, I felt like I get you like prime time, but let's go back before prime time. Let's
Okay.
go back in time. And I just love your energy too. Like, where did this spark come from? Like, tell me, like, who lit this in you?
Oh, wow. Um, I mean, I've always been curious and I've always loved to consume knowledge. My grandfather was a professor, my dad was a professor, my uncle was a professor.
Did they all
Grew up
teach the same thing, or were they all
No, but my grandfather was a physics professor, my uncle was a biochemist, and my dad is a neurobiologist. Uh,
okay?
so all in
And
the
here you are.
sciences, but grew up with books, grew up with all of those enrichment activities that you get as a kid of like, oh, we're gonna go dissect mollusks, or like we're gonna like go see why a kite works and things like that. And so I've always just been curious and I've always tried to be, I was always polymath is a word that I first heard when talking about Ben Franklin as able to do a lot of things in a lot of areas. And so, finance is actually my third career. Um, I spent about 5 years as a paralegal in that sort of post-college directionless days and
Yeah.
got to do some cool things. I worked on a Supreme Court brief, did some legislative work, everything else. And then I took a hard turn to the right and ended up in the special event industry. Spent about 15 years there, first as a project manager, and then in sales, and then head of sales, and then as managing partner, general manager for one of the largest special event lighting companies in the nation. I was joking with Nick when we first met that my claim to fame is I have partied with 5 presidents and 2 popes, and I could tell you stories about all kinds.
Not all at the same time.
Not all at the same time. I think the most I had in a room together was 4. Um,
Who
but
are the four?
uh, Bush Senior, Clinton, Bush Jr., and Obama, and there was
Wow.
I feel like there was like while Obama was president, there was like a award ceremony or medal ceremony that we did the lighting for. But that path just really informed a lot of how I am as a finance professional.
In
Uh,
what way, Andrew? I mean, first of all, how cool. So it's really something. So you have this influence of educators, higher ed, right? And in fields around process, by the way, because I hear
yeah,
that, like the how we do things. Then you move into this field of experience. Everything's about the experience. It's like the other side of the brain, getting a reaction from people too, but by design, right? We can't deliver this unless it's designed and delivered,
yeah,
right? But for many years, you didn't just dabble in it, dude.
yeah.
You had to own it.
Well, and I think that would be something I would call out as
Yeah.
part of my success and what I would inform the success of any good senior finance professional is I was really good at what I did because I had driven a truck. I had pushed boxes, like you've seen in Spinal Tap where they're underneath the
Yeah.
stadium trying to find the stage. Like
Yeah.
I did that. You and so when you're turning around and asking your team to do that, you have legitimacy. You can
Yeah.
say, I've done this. I know it's going to take 5 hours. I've done this. It's going to take 10 guys. You're not looking at a spreadsheet saying, oh, if I just shave this and this, magic, there's a number here. And like, I'm going to hinge my entire forecast on that number because that number's wrong.
Yeah.
And unless you've gotten dirty, and so that's what I would say. Like if you work in CPG, you better be going out to your 3PL warehouses and seeing how your inventory flows through somebody's pick, pack, ship operation. If you
Yeah.
work in manufacturing, take your lunchbox, go to the plant floor, see what the guys and gals are talking about, because that's going to do more to make your numbers relevant and useful and accurate than anything else you can do.
Yeah. Yeah, but you still but going from the event space into finance was still a shift, a career shift, a mind shift, and like uh, how did that happen?
Yeah. So, was doing great in the events industry in DC. Turned 40. I joke that I hit 40. 40 hit back really hard. And I had some personal tragedy in my life, and I was just like, the juice is no longer worth the squeeze. And
Yeah.
so,
Reality set check,
yeah,
right?
yeah, like,
Yeah.
it's, I think another thing that I would call out that I think we lose sight of is, what are you giving for what you get? If you spend that extra 5 hours polishing your deck and you miss dinner with your family, if you like get on the plane to go do the presentation in person and you miss your dad's birthday, like, you can't buy those things back. And
Yeah.
there are times, and I will say that there are times that you need to do that. Like, you need
Yeah.
to look at the big picture, but it's so easy to get down in the trenches, get into the cadence of this, and just be like, oh, it's perfectly normal to come home at 8:30 in the evening. No, it's not. It's not.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and so that would be my caution. So yeah, like, some things went really sideways in my life. And what I kind of realized is I just what didn't have to go
That
in the event.
I always ask this question. Tell me about a time when you got it wrong. You were like, I'm getting it wrong. I
Yeah,
got to get this right.
yeah, yeah. And so I kind of was a joint realization. Not only was I done with the event industry, I was done with Washington, DC. So to your question, like, about like, what's the boldest move you made? I packed up my life and I moved to San Francisco, and I was out here, and it was the purest San Francisco moment. On the third day I was here, I was having coffee with a networking connection, and he had just finished having coffee with a founder he was investing in. And the founder was there as like, I don't understand, like, I've got to hire my first developer. And I'm like, I don't know what you're doing, but I do know how to hire people. Like, I can set up a company, I can get people on payroll. The next day, here I was, running business operations for a crypto gaming startup. And so it was a great merger of like all of the real world lessons I had learned over the first 20 years of my career with, okay, this is how things roll in high growth venture backed tech, uh,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
So, Andrew, are you someone who naturally helps people?
I believe in karma, and I
Okay.
believe in the importance of being a good person. And more than anything else, I believe in relationships. The world is not transactional. If you treat the world as transactional, it will bite you in the butt,
Yeah.
straight up. And so I try and do the right thing. And when I see somebody who needs help, I help them,
Yeah.
because that's just what you should do as a person.
Do you think that an increasing number of finance leaders are wired that way or becoming wired that way? Do you think we're getting a bad rap for being transactional when we actually are relational?
I mean, I don't think finance leaders, a good leader is not a transactional leader. And
Agreed.
so like, I guess from that statement, I don't think good leaders have changed. I heard a great quote at a talk I was at earlier this year by a PE managing director. And he said, when we look at people we place in our portcos, we don't look at leadership. We look at followership.
I love that.
It's not what have you done? Who's going to come with you when you pick up the phone and say, hey, I got this big hairy thing. It's going to be exciting. You going to jump in with me? And that's the real measure of a good leader, is like,
Yeah.
who's going to follow you up that hill?
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about leadership right now. Where do you see leaders being stretched the most right now? Is it tech? Is it talent? Is it the outside external factors and environment we're facing? Is it things within their control? What is what's pulling you and leaders the most right now?
Yeah. The fundamental goal of a finance leader is to create value for the investors. And every month, every year, there's a new hot push pull. Oh, it's AI. Oh, it's low interest rates. Oh, it's globalization. I was reading an article in Bloomberg the other day about how Excel fundamentally changed the modern world. And, a finance leader from when I was born in the 70s was going from looking out over people with tabulation machines
Right.
into punch cards. The technology changes. The fundamental piece of how do you make each dollar of investment produce the highest ROI for your stakeholders remains the same.
Couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. And I would just wonder why it feels and sounds and has gotten so complicated and noisy.
I think if you look out over the ocean, you see the seagulls, you see the surface fish jumping around, you see the waves blowing. There's more of that. Social media allows more and more seagulls to throw out TikTok videos about how to make a better spreadsheet. The people you should pay attention to are the whales. Like, what are the big fish that you don't see on the surface doing? And I think that's the difference is we've just created, the social media revolution has democratized the ability of anyone to create content. And I know here we are, a podcast creating content, but what I said at the beginning of legitimacy.
Yeah.
That's what it goes back to, is like, if the people you're listening to are legitimate, like they have legitimacy because they've been in the trenches, they did the 3 a.m. M&A work, they, were an audit assurance associate, like, that's legitimacy. And those are the people you should listen to. And I think that story doesn't change.
Tell me about the people you surround yourself with, or the leaders you surround yourself with. What are some of the traits that you inherently look for that marry their strengths to your areas of weakness? What are their strengths?
I think so. There's two ways to look at this. There is what makes a good peer, and then what makes a good leader in the levels under you. Because those are two contrasting things.
Okay.
That I, from my second career, have a fairly strong bias for action. That you
That's obvious.
Yeah. And like the phrase that I picked up from some of my veteran friends is VUCA. Volatile, complex, uncertain, and ambiguous. And like, how do you make a decision with enough information that you're making a good decision in time that decision really impacts operations? And I think the leaders that I pair myself with are leaders who also understand the importance of building together. You know, when you're at the C-suite level, when you're on the SLT, you can't move too fast. Like, that's bad because you're whipsawing the company. But when you end up in analysis paralysis, it's very hard to create value because all your opportunities to create it have passed by the time you get to the value. Now, the leaders below me, that's where I look to buttress myself.
Okay.
That I'm really good at patterns. I'm really good at what does this trend look like and where do I think it's going? And some of that is experience, some of that is gut, some of that's, I think, just innate pattern recognition capabilities. I need underneath me a controller who is rock solid, because accounting is an account of how the business performed. Finance is a forecast based on that account. Strategy is, do you want it to do that? And so if that underlying account of the business is not reconciled to the penny, everything subsequent, you're building a house on a shaky foundation. And so for a controller below me or a staff accountant, I need somebody who is data-driven, who is focused, who is reconciling down to the penny, who's like, hey, so this, we're off by 3 cents, and I'm going to go dive into that.
And let them do that. And let them be driven by that.
Strength point.
Right.
Whereas for my FP&A person, I need them to be even more curious than I am.
Yeah.
It's another great quote that I heard at a talk once, which is, if a number is interesting to my boss, that number is fascinating to me. And that's where it's like, if I'm like, hey, so, run me 3 scenarios, assuming this does this and that does that and does that. And you come back and I'm like, okay, what are your assumptions? Like, how robust was this? Help me understand how you had the scenario so that we can iterate together. And that's a very different sort of like, I've got a big canvas and a jar of spaghetti than what I need out of the controller.
Are we still going to have the supply of both in 3 to 5 years?
That is one of my biggest fears about the AI revolution.
Yeah.
And so somewhere around 2010, late aughts, people with accounting degrees stopped going into Big Four and started going into iBanking. Mm-hmm. For the same hours, you make a lot more money.
Yeah.
It's a lot more prestigious.
Yeah.
You
have a different stride in your step.
Yeah. It's much more exciting to be on, in New York City or in Hoboken than in Scranton. Like, that's just what it is. And then, has anybody tried to find a controller with 10 years of experience and 5 years of Big Four audit? Yeah, they don't exist because we killed the pipeline. Yeah. And so now as we look at all of these AI tools for finance, there's some great ones out there, but you still need that person who's spent years in the spreadsheet to be like, your assumption is wrong here.
Right.
Or
where's that challenge going to come from? Right.
Yeah, if you have, again, what I said at the beginning of this podcast.
Yeah.
If you have not been in the trenches, you don't know what's going on under the covers later on. And so, and so it I have peers who are like, I run a finance department of one and I've got an outsourced bookkeeper in the Philippines who books all my stuff and the rest is all AI. I'm like, that's great when it works. But what you said about resilience, resilience is when it doesn't work.
Right. We learn by when it doesn't work. And if we're no longer at the center of it not working, how are we going to learn?
Yeah.
The machine's just going to do it for us?
Yeah. Like who watches the watchers? Who
Right.
tells the machine you're wrong?
Right. Right. It's really interesting. You talk about it with your background there too, because the last time we had this conversation was when I was in the Bay Area with a group of our CFO Alliance members, and we went a step above and say, what does that say about the pathway to the future CFO role if we're eliminating the steps to the controller role to the FP&A role? What is the future CFO going to look like and sound like?
Yeah. Well, and that's where it depends, like, what kind of CFO are you looking for? Because there's deal CFOs, and iBanking will always be iBanking.
Always pump them out.
Yeah.
Right.
And, then there's accounting CFOs, and there's still a path that they'll be harder to find. They'll be worth a lot more.
Right.
But when you get to the operating CFO,
which, by the way, we have a community of 10,000 of need of.
Yeah.
In the mid-market space.
Yeah. Like when you and I were talking earlier, it's you're not really a CFO unless you've lived and died by the 13-week cash flow.
That's right. Exactly.
And no AI can replace that yet.
No. But then, if you haven't lived by that, then where are they?
Well, I mean, and this is where I think this is the real power of mid-market. Is
the mighty mid-market, we call that, right?
The mighty mid-market is that when you if you came into finance through working, and this is like big company people, small company people that we've also talked about. Like if you came into finance and your world was working at a FANG and then a second FANG and then a third, then a third FANG and then getting capped to be CFO of a company, those companies have the budgets to pay for the OpenAI enterprise license and everything else. But that $100 million manufacturing company, that $80 million construction company, those are people who need CFOs. And they're not in a place where they're like, we're going to go hire 4 AIs and a whiz kid and trust all of it. They're like, no, show me the numbers, because their owners are also deeply in the numbers.
That's right. So, and it also lends itself to then the future of the, CFO to CXO. There's been this talk of, okay, we love all of the broad impact that finance leaders are now having, the combination of skills around opportunity side of the equation and risk and governance side of the equation that the CFO now has. And now 1 in 4 finance leaders, especially in the mid-market space, are now classifying themselves as an entrepreneur, which you clearly are.
I've done it. I don't want to do it again.
Right. But you've done it, right? But you clearly are, right?
Yeah.
And then it lends itself to the question I always get asked. Well, then you must have a number of in your 10,000 that are CFO to CXO, right? What's on that potential list of where CFOs go most naturally?
You see a lot of, or not a lot of, what you're seeing more and more of, you have the CFAO, finance and administrative, where all of the back office rolls up under the CFO, which is a very natural adjacency.
Sure.
In companies that are not workforce driven, you see a COFO, where you have like more of a president who's focused on revenue generation, and then everything else is that very broad mandate of finance and operations.
Yeah.
That doesn't work when you have large workforces. You need people who are pure operations to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
I know there are CFOs who have crossed over into that CEO and president role.
Yeah. What do you think about that? I'm curious. That's why I took you there.
Yeah. For me, and I'm only speaking for myself personally,
Yeah.
part of what makes me a good CFO is I am inherently conservative and I'm inherently skeptical.
Uh-huh.
You have to be. Really, tell me about that forecast.
It's a tightrope you're always walking, right?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I don't, you don't believe your revenue officer's forecast. You don't believe, like you don't believe your inventory counts. Like you test everything. And a
Yeah.
CEO needs to be big vision, selling pie in the sky.
Uh-huh.
And that's an amazing thing,
Yeah.
but it's really hard to go from cynic to enthusiast
Yeah.
personality wise. So I think
Yeah.
it can be done. And I think that, again, what makes a good leader? Good followers. And so I think there are some great leaders out there who've crossed over.
Uh-huh.
But I think when it comes to innate personality, it's not something that would be a leap for me.
Interesting. Let me throw another curveball at you that I got asked within our community to comment on. What do you think about the increasing number of CEOs that are moving into the seat of CEO, that instead of coming into that seat through being an operator, they're coming into that seat being a consultant? And the impact that has on how the CFO needs to operate as the right hand to that CEO, because there's a difference between working with the CEO who's been the operator versus the CEO coming in who is coming at this as being a consultant who's now the CEO.
Yeah. I will caveat all of this by I am assuming the board, in and of selecting that CEO, knows what the business needs at that juncture. And so I would believe that when you are bringing in a consultant as CEO, the board is saying your ideas are stale, your trajectory is wrong, and you need to radically do something different. So we're going to bring in somebody from the outside who's not contaminated by we've always done it this way to really shake things up. And so when that happens, one, as a good CFO, you need to have a pulse on why the board is doing that. Like, you'll know, like, you're public, you're reporting those quarterly. You're private, you're still reporting it quarterly. Like, you'll know why they're doing that. And you need to be 100% bought in to that, because that's the most important relationship in the company. If you guys are working cross purposes, if the consultant is coming in and saying, our new focus is B2B, we're B2C is just it's too many competitors. We're going B2B and we're going to start moving up value chain on B2B. You need to go in and say, okay, I'm tearing up the next 3 years of playbooks, and this is what we need to get out of B2B revenue, because B2C revenue is off the table now.
Yeah.
And if you're like, oh, but we need to hedge, oh, I need these dollars, you're not following, you're not following what the board wants. And you have an integrity piece to stand up and say, either the captain is pointed straight at the iceberg and I need to call this out as CFO, or I've been here for 6 years, all of these people are personal, you're about to lay off half of the sales team that I've known since they were SDRs, I'm not on board. And you need a CFO who's in your vision.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, to take that bigger, I think that's a very important thing that you should always have in your head as a CFO, as a finance leader.
Yeah. What's one muscle that you're going to need to train and develop for yourself in the next 12 to 24 months if you want to continue to bring your A game to your CFO seat?
Very good question. Could always work on your ability to see around corners. That one of the ultimate responsibilities of the CFO is risk. And risk is upside risk and downside risk.
It's not a negative word.
Yeah. Yeah. It is, things are not going to do what you thought them to do. And whether it's insurance or treasury or human capital or whatever, we're in a very uncertain and unsettled set of times. And any CFO who was involved in CPG or any kind of commerce who was not building contingency plans in the summer of last year for if we get an administration change and there are tariffs, what's our plan, was not doing their job, in my opinion. And so, like, for me, my current company is a professional services company. 80% of our costs are people. As we know, and professional services lives and dies on the billable hour. And so, like, if
Death of the billable
I'm not
hour.
on top of, like, what's happening with AI and professional services, what's this doing to pricing models, what's this doing to billing structures, what like, what's going on, I'm failing my company. And so that's the muscle of, like, it's more, how is your sixth sense, and, like, how are you ingesting information? And as a final note on that, just to kind of tie it back, this goes back to, like, my academic childhood. Like, I get up in the morning and I read the Journal and Bloomberg and the New York Times, and, like, because I need to know. And that's part of
you gotta feed it. You gotta train it. You gotta work it. It's not through osmosis, right? Those muscles don't work themselves.
No. Exactly.
So if you had, are you going to ask you this question? Are you trying to add to your team right now? Or if you were going to, or had the ability to add to your team, who would you add? If you didn't have to worry about budget and time and talent was right in front of you, if you were giving advice to a finance leader who could add to their team right now, who would you add?
I would go find a early career, hungry, digitally fluent person. And they don't have to be accounting and they don't have to be FP&A, but somebody who is knowledgeable enough in both of those that if I say, hey, I want to take my NetSuite feeds and I want this all to go into a data warehouse, and then I want you to put Tableau on top of it, and I need a weekly dashboard that goes out to my leadership team on pipeline backlog, OpEx, you can build it. And because that's the piece of, like, data is only relevant if it's accessible to the stakeholders. And that's not just like, oh yes, you can log into the repository. And
I know.
It's like,
that's like saying the library's down the street. Go ahead.
It's
back in the day.
Are you surfacing actionable data in time for people to take action?
I get it. So what's something that most people don't know about you in terms of habits or rituals that matter, that keep you kind of keeping you at the top of your game?
I've got 2 dogs, a big giant Shepherd Pyrenees mix and a smaller looks like a beagle. Ancestry calls her a super mutt.
What are the names?
Tucker and Bella.
Okay.
And every evening we go for a walk. And
Okay.
because Tucker likes he's the big one.
I bet. You better walk that Tucker, because Tucker's gonna
It's
walk
4
you.
miles.
Yeah.
3 to 4 miles is our average walk. And that's an hour.
Yeah.
And it's an hour that I have to pay attention to 2 dogs. And I live in San Francisco and a city. So I can't
Yeah.
look at my phone.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's a big one, is like that ability to build your headspace. Like I can ruminate on like, did I really do that spreadsheet, is the formula? Okay, take a note on that. Or like, what are we going to do with this? Like I can think, but I'm not distracting myself. And I think that's just a big one, is like, you got to keep your mind plastic by taking it out of the information fire hose and saying, okay, now go think about this.
Yeah. I bet you that's also where I hope that you also give yourself a little grace too.
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
Okay, good.
this is my time with the dogs.
Yeah. I
Basically.
love it. I love it. So, a word of advice. I mean, it's this time of year where, I'm sure my listeners are listening to this anytime they want, when they want, where they want, because that's the beauty of this. But we're doing this at a time of reflection. What advice do you have for someone that's about to enter a new role, a new seat, consider making a move? You've made moves. That's one of the reasons why I wanted you here. You've made life move, career move. They've been bold. They've been big. You're Monday morning quarterbacking now. Someone's about to make a move into something. What's the best piece of advice that you have for that? Looking back.
I'll speak broadly and then more specifically. Broadly, you need, when you make a move, like before you even start thinking about making a move, what are your core values? Because I think anytime people get into the interview process, you start getting all excited. Oh, this would be amazing.
Yeah.
You're missing the 4 red. Yeah, like exactly. Like the red flags are flapping you in the face, but you're like, this is going to be so cool. And then you get in there and you're like, wow, how did I not see that? And so as you look at your career, if I was to rewind myself 20 years ago, you really can only move every 3 to 5 years. Like you do not want to have the resume that's like, you could do that till you figure out what you want to do with your life. But then and so you should approach those moves with this is not, oh, I'll change it tomorrow. This is like, I am investing in me.
Yeah.
Don't go Robin Hood, go Vanguard on this. Like, what is your long-term play? What does this get you? Because like there could be moves into things that are, I don't want to say toxic, but like you can say, hey, guess what? I want to go work for a Series A startup because I want to punch my ticket that way. And I know in doing that I'm going to work 90 hours a week. I'm going to, and that's my 4-year plan, because on the other side, I will have said, I rode QRX.ai from seed to Series B.
Yeah.
But do it with eyes wide open.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. So what's the best way for people to get to know you better, to connect with you? How do you like that?
Reach out on LinkedIn. I travel a lot. I live in San Francisco. My family has a place on the Cape. I'm there in the sort of New England area for several weeks every year. And my partner and I travel around the country and internationally. I love breaking bread with people. I love meeting new people. Shoot me a LinkedIn request. Be like, hey, are you going to be in Chicago this summer? Because I'd love to have coffee with you.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Well,
sounds
I'm
great.
gonna take you up on that. I'm gonna see you in San Francisco in just 8 weeks or less, and then I'm
Yep.
gonna try and find you. We're gonna play a game of where's Andrew instead of where's Waldo. Okay?
Perfect. Yeah, I got that little trip in January, but after that, we're good to go.
Andrew, promise me, as we continue to bring people like you in who got to the seat by different ways, which is why I bring people like you in, and also will help define what it's like to sit in that seat today and also guide us as that seat evolves. That's what this is all about, that you continue to tell the next chapters with us too.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
this to me goes back to that leadership followership. If
Yeah.
I hold on to knowledge and I don't share,
Yeah.
I'm selfish.
Yeah.
Like,
Uh, Yeah.
you
I love
got to share your story.
I love it. Thank you for sharing your story today. And listeners, if you loved hearing this story to connect with Andrew, his link is here. Get his attention in that. And here's what I love, a little tip for you. Connect and write that note. Don't say without a note. I hate that.
Yeah.
Hate that.
No, that's a non-negotiable for me because I
Yeah.
assume you're somebody's BDR, and if I connect with
Yes.
you, you're going to
I mean,
spam me with 14 things. Hey,
there's so many things.
heard you on the podcast, thought it was great,
Yeah.
would love to chat. Cool. Would love to
Yeah.
chat.
Or where are you today? That's all you're
Yeah.
going to need
Yeah,
to say.
where are you
Here's
today?
where I am.
Exactly.
If you enjoyed this episode, or you want to be a guest, or you have a recommendation of a guest as fascinating or with a story to tell like Andrew's, connect with me, connect with us at CFO Alliance. If you have just as much energy, passion, desire to bring that story, that's what Level Up is all about. Don't just read about leadership, learn it from CFOs who are living it like Andrew. That's why we do this, and that's why I put my heart and soul behind it. Please subscribe. Please bring that energy to it. Andrew, I will see you on the horizon. I will see you in person. I will see you online. And more importantly, many will see you as we release this. And more importantly, as we continue to develop our relationships. Stay well, stay safe, stay connected, and continue to level up.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thank you for tuning in to the Level Up Podcast. Subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. More stories, insights, and connections to help you level up.